So right now, what do you think? What do you know about writing techniques? Like, what do you know about writing task 1 in IELTS? What do you know about it? What do you know about, like, writing task 1 in IELTS? IELTS, there are two kinds of IELTS. Like, in general, there are two kinds of IELTS. We have academic IELTS, we have general IELTS. When it comes to general IELTS, task 1 is just writing a friendly letter or semi-friendly letter or semi-formal letter or formal letter. You can write a letter to your best friend, you can write a letter to your boss at work, you can write a letter to the landlord, you can write a letter to a supermarket, you can write a letter to, like, like anyone, like a co-worker. You see, this is in IELTS, a general IELTS. So in general IELTS, writing task 1 is so simple. You have to write a letter, or you're supposed to write a letter, and you have to cover like 3 questions. You have to answer 3 questions in your letter. But in writing task 1, when it comes to the academic IELTS, no, it is not writing a letter. It is like, interpreting some diagrams. Like what? Like here, as you see, writing task 1, you might have a table like this one. It could be a table. It could be a pie chart like this one. We have here 2 pie charts. It could be a line graph. This one is line graph. It could be a bar chart. Let me see, like this is a bar chart. It could be a diagram, diagram, like what? Diagram, like a life cycle. This is a table, another table, and you have bar chart. So it could be like, different, like this is again line graph. This like a diagram. So this is about like, it's about greenhouse gases. So here we have this one. So in writing task 1 in IELTS, we can have different diagrams. As I told you, can have a table, jadwal, we can have a pie chart, we can have a line graph, we can have a bar chart, we can have a diagram, we can have a life cycle, we can have a flow chart. Most probably in exams, right, we can have comparison between one building, like, before and after, like, development. It could be an area before and after development. It could be a clinic before and after development. So we have to compare and contrast. So how can we approach that writing task 1? A lot of students like hate it. A lot of candidates hate task 1 because sometimes they don't understand it. So here we have specific steps when it comes to writing task 1. What is the first step? Like, for example, let's say today, inshallah, we're going to have this one. Today, inshallah, we're going to focus on this one. We're going to apply what we mentioned in this one, what we're going to mention in this one, on this one. To apply to, not on. Like this one, you see here. Like, for example, what do you see here? What do you see here in this one? What do you see? First of all, what is this? What is this? What do you see here? What is it? It's what? It's called what? This one is called what? Is it a table? Is it like what? What is it? It's like in English, we call it a line graph. Line graph. So it compares and contrasts, like it compares what? The consumption of fish and meat in a European country. So like what do you see here? What is the first thing that grabs your attention once you look at it? Here we have the consumption from 1979 till 2004. So here we have this one. What grabs your attention here? What is the most important trends you see in this one, in this diagram, or in this bar chart, line graph? What do you see here?
The consumption of chicken is it's almost constantly rising.
Yes, very good. Yes, what else? This is a good point. Yes, very good. Is like,
Yeah,
rising.
the fish is almost constant.
Yes.
The lamb and beef are decreasing.
Yes, very good. So we have increasing and we have decreasing, right? We have like chicken is increasing, is or was, like this is one of the common mistake. Like here it's from 1979 to 2004. So one of the most the common mistakes when it comes to writing task 1 in IELTS, in academic IELTS, like the tense. So remember always to use the past. Always remember to use the past as long as it's before 2024. So you have to use the past. Like after 2024, you are supposed to use the present and the future. Like if you don't have any tense at all, in that case, you can use the present simple. If you don't have any time at all, I mean, like it's not mentioned, no time is mentioned at all. So most probably this is a scientific process. So in that case, you can use the present simple. We use the present simple to refer to facts. Okay, so here we have this one, very good. So you have the chicken is rising, was rising or rose significantly. Fish, like you can say, decreased slightly. And we have beef and lamb, like also decreasing, but they're decreased kind of sharply, like gradually, sharply. You see that one. So this is what's like, some people thought that you're supposed to mention every single detail. So like one of Like someone once told me that like I thought that I have to write it, so in a way like it is like drawn, so it means, or it was drawn, so it means like after writing it, like I have to reach the same, I have to create, I have to depict the same trends, like ups and downs. So it is impossible. Like it is impossible to spend like to start with, like, you know, your task, this task is supposed to be accomplished, is supposed to be written, done within for 20 minutes only. 20 minutes only. You have to read it, you have to understand it, you have to interpret the information, and then you have to write it. You have only 20 minutes. And yeah, I know that like task 2 is more important than task 1, but task 1 also like it represents the third of the whole mark. If you'd like to have 9 in writing, this 1 out of 3. So it means like some students like sometimes they like let's say overlook it, which is not good for it is not for their good. So what should we do, like, you know, as the to approach such kind of skill, like to approach such kind of task? What should we do? First of all, whatever the task is, writing task 1, whatever the task is, we have to follow the same writing techniques. First of all, we have to start with an introduction. How in this task you are not supposed to write anything personal. You are not supposed to write your own inference. You're not supposed to, like, you know, to interpret information that is not mentioned in this task. So for example, once like there was like here, I will show you this one. There was like this task, it's a table, this one here. Yes, it's a table about the consumption, or like how people spend money on different items in Turkey. You know, in Turkey and in other countries as well. I remember one of the students, she was so smart, mashallah, but she wrote like, because Turkish people love like, you know, fashion, they spend so and so. It is not mentioned here. You know, like always deal with writing task 1 as if you are a presenter and you present some data. You're supposed to present some data like here, and you're not supposed to, like, you know, use like any personal information. You're not supposed to include any personal information. You're not supposed to use even your own inference. You have numbers, you deal with numbers. So you're supposed to just interpret these numbers into written English. That's all. Don't mention why. As long as the reason is not mentioned, don't mention why. So here, what is the first step we should do in all writing task 1, whatever the task is, whatever, like, you know, whatever it is. Number 1, we have to write an introduction. In this introduction, forget about having background information, writing your opinion. Here, you have no opinion. In this task, you have no opinion. It is not your opinion. So what should we do? The first step, number 1, we have to paraphrase the question. Forget about summarize the information. Paraphrase the question. You know, paraphrase the question. What does it mean? It means write the question using your own words without changing anything, without changing the meaning. Okay. So here, how can we, like this one, for example, this is a question here. How can we rephrase it? How can we rewrite it using our own words? So first of all, the graph, we can just write the line graph. Below should be deleted. This one, the word below, like here, this one should be deleted because like it's not included in the exam. I mean, like we won't need it. Shows, like here, shows, we can write highlights, we can write, I remember S. This is one of the common mistakes. Shows, you can write reveals, you can write highlights, you can write sheds light on, you can write gives information about or gives information on. So you have to rephrase it. You know, this is, I guess, the easiest part. You have to rephrase the question using your own words. So what should happen? Like what would happen if you didn't refuse it, if you didn't rephrase it and you copy it? It means that you wrote nothing. The first sentence will be deleted, all of it. Okay, so how can you rephrase it? As I told you, start with the definition, like start with like the kind of the graph, whatever it is, write it here. You can write the given line graph as you like. And the good thing about writing task 1 that you can memorize some sentences. You can memorize some sentences. I will show you, and even I'll share some files with you related, like very short files. I have very long files and I have very short files. Very long files, like kind of waste of time because they contain so many examples. If you need it, if you need them, I can share them with you. But I mean, mostly speaking, they're off-putting and students don't like to use them because they're so long. So I have this one here. Yes, here you have this one here. Here we have shows, like we can just, here we have this one, as I told you, we can just remove the word below, and then shows, we can write gives information on, gives information about, we can write highlights, we can write sheds light on, the consumption of fish and some different kinds of meat. How can you just, you know, you can say how much fish, instead of writing the consumption, you can write how much fish, and some different kinds of meat, you can remove some. And we can remove different, you can write various, you can write types, you can write sorts, but here you can just write them. You can say fish, as well as, when you have and, you can replace and with as well as, in addition to, accompanied by, together with, it's okay. Like, you know, you don't have to write and. But don't write, for example, in addition, furthermore, besides. No, we have and in the middle of a sentence, and we have and at the beginning of the sentence. If we have and at the beginning of the sentence, you can replace it with moreover, in addition, furthermore, besides, also, additionally, okay, and then comma after them. If we have and in the middle of the sentence to join two nouns, so in that case, you're not supposed to use one of the ones that I have just mentioned. You're supposed to use, for example, as well as, in addition to, together with, accompanied by, and so on. Okay, so you can write here as well as. Some, remove some, we don't need it. Some means like 3 or more, but you can, different kinds of fish. You can write various types of meat, or you can write like them. You can write fish, chicken, beef, and what else? And lamb. You can write them. So instead of writing some different kinds, you can just write them. Again, you don't like include any personal opinions here. And you are supposed to be like, you're supposed to follow every, like, all the details mentioned or shown in the paragraph, in the graph. In a European country, you can write in a country in Europe. Between 1979 and 2004, you can write, for example, like from 1979 to 2004. This is one of the ways we can use to rephrase the question. So in writing task 1, you should have such a skill, the skill of rephrasing. The skill of rephrasing. The problem with the skill of rephrasing that now a lot of people use, like, ChatGPT, or use like artificial intelligence to rephrase everything for them. And yes, it's unique and so good, but still, like, it affects people's skill when it comes to rephrasing. So as an academic student, as an academic candidate for this test, you're supposed to know how to rephrase like academic sentences using your own words. You got it? So like we can just rephrase it in a different way. Yes, for sure. We can rephrase it in a different way. Like you don't have to say the given line graph, like it gives information on, as I told you, the consumption, right? How much, yeah. You can write how much fish, chicken, lamb, and so on. Or you can write how much fish, as well as various sorts or various types of meat in a country in Europe, from 1979 to like 2004. Remember, if you write from to, or between and. If you have this one, if this one in the test was from to, you change it between and. Okay, and here, as I told you, you are not supposed to comment on every single detail. You are not supposed to comment, like to add comments on every single detail. No, you don't have to do that. So what should you do? For example, like here, simply you can have different approaches in this one, and all of them are right. First of all, you can just focus on the one that was rising or increasing, and you can just write all those like that increased in one paragraph. Like here we have only one, which is a chicken, but I mean in general, you can have more than one, and then classify like the others, the one that were decreasing in another paragraph. Okay, and then you can write fish like alone, because like it reached a plateau, like it decreased slightly, you know. Or you can write this one. You can write one paragraph, body one for this one only, like for the year 1979, scrap everything mentioned here, and then body two in 2004. You can write this one or this one. The conclusion here is extremely important, as always. The conclusion is always important. By the way, it's why it's important, because simply you summarize the main trend. Like here we have the main idea. We have like main ideas, and the examiner is looking for such main ideas. You have to mention it. You can mention it in two places. You can mention it in the second sentence in the introduction. In the introduction, by the way, the introduction can be one sentence only. If you don't like, if you feel like you are running out of time and you don't have time, you can write the introduction only, rephrase the question only. By the way, you can rephrase the question. And then if you think that you can, you wrote like, the most important point, you can write it in the last sentence of introduction or the second sentence of the introduction. And then you can rephrase it in the last sentence, in the conclusion. You can rephrase it if you like. So what if you don't know, like you don't have time at all to write a conclusion? So in that case, some people said you can rephrase the question twice, one for introduction and one for the conclusion, but it is not good. I mean, like this technique is not good. It's so for those who would like to have only 5 in IELTS. Like if you don't know how to write any conclusion at all, so in that, but this is not good. But I mean, like in that case, like plan B is to rephrase the question again and just add any, like, any trend you see, like the most important trend you think. This is number 1. What is the common mistakes? Now I'd like to start with the common mistakes before, like, describing the details. The common mistakes, number 1, as I told you, we always use the past, or mostly the time. We always use the past, almost always. Use the past to refer to the, use the present to refer to the past. So as I told you, like till 5 years ago, like, I mean, like all the graphs and so on were in the past. And then they started like to give you some graphs, like some, like half of it is in the past and the other half in the present. You see, and or like half of them on the past and the others in the future. So always in speaking and writing, pay attention to the tense. That's why, from my personal point of view, like like you can memorize the verbs in the past immediately. I mean, like directly. So here, instead of rise, you can write rose or increased or peaked or went up or declined. So again, I always advise students to write them on the margin of the exam paper. I mean, like if you have, for sure, like you don't have to have a line graph all the time, but I mean, in general, if you have a trend, it's better to write this word, memorize like 4 words, meaning like, showing upward trend and upward trend, 5 words showing like, downward trend, 5 words showing, or 3 words showing stability, and you have to memorize some adjectives and adverbs as well to know adverbs as well to know how to use them. Try not to repeat the same word like twice when it comes to upward trends or downward trends. Try not to use the same word more than once. Okay, and for more important than that, try to use the right tense. Try to use that. Don't try to go up, it's went up. Don't try to peak, it peaked. Don't try it is, it was, you got it. So that's why I always like, like advise my students just, to all like to memorize them in the past in order not to forget that. Got it? You understand that? So what else? Some students forget to write any, and like, like this is out of 9, by the way. I mean out of 9, and then in the overall it's divided by 3, and you get just 3 out of 9. 3, like it's 3 out of 9 in IELTS. But like in general, if you don't include, like here you have numbers, you have to have numbers. Like most of the time you have numbers, okay? Not you have to, but most of the time. If you don't include numbers, like this one here, the band can never be more than 5. Even if your writing is perfect and even if structure is amazing, but you didn't include any numbers, like it means that, that you won't get more than 5. So here, the good thing about this, like one, that you don't have to generate any ideas. You don't have to think about ideas. The ideas are always there. Like your task here is trying to turn such ideas into like readable English, like, texts. That's it. So you're supposed to look for the main details and then support them with examples. So for example, if I say the chicken was increasing or rose like gradually, or rose sharply, whatever it is, like gradually or sharply here, you have to mention how, like what is the proof. You can say it increased from like, 100, almost 150 grams per person per week in 1979 to about or approximately or around. Yes, here do not write information which is wrong. Remember, when you write information, make sure that the information is right. In the back, no. Like the introduction should be in the present. No, remember the introduction here, the first sentence of the introduction is in the present simple because you are supposed to rephrase the question. The question is in the present simple. You say this graph shows, like this graph shows what or gives information about what. But like the second sentence, if you're going to write the main idea in the second sentence with introduction, so in that case, you can write it in the past if the graph is in the past. You can write it in the future if the graph in the future, So it depends. But most of the time, it's in the past. The first sentence only is in the present because like you shouldn't write, for example, the table or the graph showed. No, like it shows. You speak about fact here, it shows. You got it? So the introduction, if you're going to write the introduction, like one word, like one sentence introduction, it's okay, by the way. It's okay. But like the one which is better to write the main idea in the last sentence of introduction, the second sentence of introduction. And by the way, don't write a lot in this text. Don't write a lot. Like mostly speaking, 9 sentences, maximum 9 sentences. But they have to be long and let's say complex sentences. Don't write more than 9. Don't write more than 9. If you write more than 9, you will take more than 20 minutes, which might affect your writing task too badly, adversely. So here, just before even approaching it, I'm going to write one or two sentences for introduction, and then one sentence for conclusion, body 1 for like the first group, body 2 for the second group. You always have groups. In this task, you always have groups. If it is not a diagram, it's not a life cycle, you have groups. You have the highest, the second highest, you have the lowest, the second lowest, you have increased, you have decreased, you have stabilized, you have groups. You can divide it into 2 groups or 3 groups. It's okay, but always remember that. And always support each main idea with examples and numbers. And if you're not sure, like here, for example, you can never say reach 250 grams per person per week because you don't know. So you can say around or approximately or about, you see? It's much better to write, like, than writing, like, it reached, like, 250 grams per person per week. Try, like, yes, and for sure, like, you are not supposed to include wrong information. Like, you see, like, you're supposed to understand the graph really well and just focus, as I told you, on the main ideas. So here we have some, sentences to help you with this one. As I told you here, like, these sentences can be memorized, no problem. You can memorize them. You can memorize them, no problem. So here's the most important part in task 1. Remember, like learn how to rephrase any academic texts. This is really important. And rephrasing the questions are not that hard. As I told you, there are things that will be here. I will share them with you, inshallah. Like this one, I guess where I put it. Academic writing here. Okay, let me see. Like here we have this one. This one, as you see here. So here, like in this one, in order to help you with the introduction. So you can write, for example, like, the given diagram shows, you can write the given, the supplied, the presented, the shown, the provided. Why do we use introductory words here? In order to, like, to make sure that you write 150 words. In this task, you're supposed to write only 150 words, which means about 15 lines. The least 15 lines, like, at least 15 lines. Okay, so let's say 9 complex sentences would do it. Okay, we'll do that. So you can write, for example, the given. If you like the given, you can write the given, you can write the presented, you can write the shown. But if you write the shown, do not write the shown, the graph shows. It's wrong. You can write here, it's not wrong, it's repetitive. So you can write bar graph, like the one with like bars, a chart, you can write column, you can write data, diagram, map. Sometimes you have map, figure, flow chart, graph, illustration, information, line graph, and also they forgot about table. You can write table. Picture, no, they wrote it here. Yeah, picture, pie chart, presentation, process table. Yeah, you have table here. Pie chart and table. Sometimes you can have two. Pie chart is so easy. Like this one, for example, I'll show you some here, like here. This one, for example, is so easy. This one is so easy. How can I approach it? So simply have pie chart. They will never give you 3 marks only for writing like 1 or 2 sentences here. So what should we write? For example, like here, again, you're supposed to, number 1, you're supposed to rephrase the question, rephrase it. What do you mean by rephrase it? Change the words only. Like the pie chart below, remove below, and pie chart, you can see the presented pie chart shows, gives information on or about. The main, you can write the key reasons, you can write causes, why agriculture land becomes like less productive. The reason behind the less productivity, or like not less productive, yeah, you can write less productivity of agriculture land. So you change it now. You can write in addition the table. If you write here, you can say highlights, like the ways these reasons impacted like 3 regions of the world during the 1990s. Instead, you can write, instead of writing 3 regions, write this one: North America, Europe, and Oceania. Oceania, it refers to Australia. I guess, as much as I remember. You got it? I'm not sure. So I have this one. So affected, you can just remove it, like you can replace it with impacted or influenced. 3 regions, you can write the regions themselves, North America and so on. Causes, you can replace it with reasons. How, you can replace it with the way. During, you can write in the 1990s. You can write this one. So this is like a way to rephrase it. And then body 1 will be only for this one, causes of worldwide land degradation. And then body 2 will only for this one, causes of land degradation by region. And the conclusion should be the relationship between the first diagram and the second diagram, the pie chart and the table. For sure, there is a relationship. For sure, like you will find like something that connects them. It could be contradictory. It could be emphasizing, like what the table emphasizes the information mentioned or shown in the pie chart. So the one who's able to reach like such conclusion, the one who will get like high marks. You got it? Here you have this one. You mean repeat the description of the topic, but in different way. Yes. Like you repeat, yeah, for sure, because you're not supposed to like, to include any personal ideas. So that's exactly what you have here. So you're supposed to rephrase it. Paraphrasing or rephrasing means what? Repeating the same idea using your own words, in your own, like using your original sentences. Okay, without changing the meaning, As I told you, this one will help you a lot. This like file, I will share it with you. So you can write here, like pick anyone you want, like pick anything you want here. You can write gives information. I usually speaking prefer gives information on because it like, it's 3 words, which means like if you have even a shortage of ideas, you might like, write some sentences, like some extra words. You can write shows data about, you can write presents or present information on or about, you can write provides or represents, you can write describes or depicts or summarizes or represent, whatever you like. You can write any one of these. You got it? So this is like, in order to help you with the rephrasing of the introduction, the first sentence. This is the first sentence. Concerning the second sentence of the introduction, if you're confident enough and you know the main idea, you can write like here again, see? Here we have this one. Overall, the consumption of fish and chips declined over the period, whereas the amount of pizza and hamburger that were eaten increased. So here you have this one. This is like, an academic sentence you can use. So you're supposed to memorize them? Yes. As like, as a matter of fact, it will help you a lot. Like it's extremely helpful to memorize some sentences for task 1. because you're not going to memorize them, like, you know, you're not going to write the same exact sentences. For sure, you have to change like such ideas, such details based on the graph you're going to have in the test, but at least you memorize them. You have sentences to memorize. Okay, so we have this one here. Let's, like, you know, start reading this one. So here, as I told you, if the year before the present year, like, use the past tense. If the year is after the present year, use the future tense. You can write is expected to, will, you can write intended to, you can write planned to, like, you know, the plan to. Okay, you can use the future, you can use is going to. This is the intro only. Yes, for sure. The introduction, yes, your introduction, you have to rephrase it, but like concerning the body one, like concerning body one and body two, you have nothing to write. Like, you only have the information shown in diagrams, and you have to change such information into written English. You see? So like the only sentence you need to rephrase is like the question, only the question. And by the way, like in the introduction, even in writing task one, if you don't know what to write, like you can rephrase the question. Rephrase the question. Start with the background information and then rephrase the question and then write your opinion in writing task two. Okay, so here we have proportion language to describe percentages. When you have percentages, don't use numbers. When you have numbers, don't use percentages, you know. Comparison language, like when you have compare and contrast, you have the biggest and the smallest, the highest, and as I told you, like you can use the comparison language, more than, less than. For sure you have more than, less than, the least or the most, the highest and the lowest, the biggest and the smallest. You collect marks, like when you like use them correctly. And we have trend languages, like going up and going down, like, and so on. So, and even when it comes to like the trend languages, it's not the same. You can use unique languages as well. Like you can hear, like you have this one, like here, like this one. Yeah, I'll share to you. This one is really good. Like, but as I told you, like here, forget about this one now. I just like, this is an overview. I like this one. We have increased, we have decreased, we have no change, we have ups and downs. So for example, like if this increase is fast, you can say doubled or jumped or leaped or rocketed or skyrocketed. Skyrocketed is like, we use it if like we had a very sharp increase. So in that case, we can use skyrocketed. And I remember once in IELTS exams, they used it to refer to the increasing the prices of medicines. They said the prices of medicine skyrocketed over the year, or have skyrocketed over the years. Soar or surge or tripled or upsurge, like this one refers to very fast increase. And this one refers to very fast decrease. Very fast decreases, like collapsed or showed, like, you know, like had a collapse or dive, or for sure you can say dove or dropped or plummeted or plunged, or like, you know, or took a nose dive. Remember to memorize them in the past. Believe me, remember to memorize them in the past so that to avoid such mistake in real exams. You see, here we have neutral. It's like, you know, neutral here, like it's still increased, but like it is not that kind of, it is not the skyrocketing, it is not peaking. And we have here slow and upward trend, or upward and upward tendency. We can also use this one to refer to, like, you know, slow increase, but also we can use it to refer to increase in general. The same applies here. We have dip, we have slump, like, you know, we have also decline, we have drop, we have went down, we have reduced, and so on. We can use them. So from my point of view, like when you look at the writing task one, if it's trend, like it needs this one, write forwards meaning increased, forward meaning decreased, and forward or seawards meaning like stabilized. And like whenever you use any one of them, cross it out so that you won't use it again, so that you don't, or you can't use it again, or you shouldn't, so to avoid using it again. Okay, so here you have this one, ups and downs. We have the word fluctuation. Fluctuation is so good if you have, like, you know, this kind of trend. When you have this kind of trend, you see, like this one, up and down, up and down, up and down. So we can say fluctuated, because you can never say it went up and then down and then it went up and down again. Of course not. So you can just like widely fluctuated. Okay, you got it? Yes. So let's see here, like, okay, now let's start reading the sentences. Here you have this one. Let me see here. What's like in the intro, I will rephrase the question itself. Yes. In the introduction, yes, you should rephrase the question itself. And the body two, I will describe the not body two, body one. Body one describes the pie chart itself. Yes. Yes. Like if you refer to this one, yes. If you refer to this question, for example, like this one, yes. Body one will be about this one only, and body two will be about this one only. And in the conclusion, what's the relationship between both? Is a relationship between both. But as I told you, when you have two diagrams in one like writing task, so it means there is a relationship between both of them. And the main idea, like, you know, here, like your task is to try to figure such relationship, figure it out. Okay, so don't be confused. So in the introduction, just rephrase the question using the same tense, like which is the present simple. It's always the present simple. So don't forget this S. In body 1 and in body 2, like here, if you have years, you should like years, like if you have a specific time. If it is before now, before this year, it's past simple. If it's after, so it's future. If you have no times at all, so in that case, you have to use the present simple. Okay, you're supposed to use the present simple because you don't have any years. So like, how do you know? You got it. So here you have this one here, like you can, for example, like this one of the skeletons, like you can write the graphs to give the information, but like the file I showed you is much better. According to the gram, it's interesting to note that you can write from the first glance, it's obvious that you can write like overview phrases. You can use them, by the way. You can use them, and this is totally okay and totally professional, because actually even those who write them every day like use such technique, so it's use such phrases all the time. Okay, and for sure you have to have the end conclusion in case you don't have any conclusion, you don't know what to write, like rephrase the question again. Again, it is not recommended, it is not highly recommended, but it's much better than like leaving the paragraph without conclusion. And for sure, like the same applies to writing task 2. You have to have an introduction, a clear-cut introduction, body 1, body 2, and a conclusion. If you like to have high marks, do not write it all as one block. It is not good. It is not good. Like you're going to lose 1 mark even before reading one sentence. If you're even for writing one sentence. So here, this like, here we have some sentences here. I tried to collect all the most important sentences so that you can memorize them. And inshallah, after this session, I will share this file with you. Okay, so for example, you can see this sentence. It clears that for sure here, like you're going to complete it like based on your graph in the test. Represent the largest portion of like this one, whereas this is comparison language. Like we have the largest and we have the smallest. So this one here, like usually speaking now in America and in some academic writing, you're supposed to add a comma when you have like independent clause and dependent clause. So we use a comma before the dependent clause. You got it? Yes, so sales of what, like stood at what, like you have here to add the percentages in 1925, which is the majority of what. Like here, like these sentences, as I told you, you should memorize them in order to be able to use them in the test. And even if you memorize them, no problem with that, because like you're going to change this, like, whatever is written in the test based on the diagrams that you have. Okay, so I have this one here, like all the sentences are the same. They refer to like comparison, like what happens in this year and then what happened in this year. So you can compare between years, it's okay. You can compare years, it's okay. You can compare items, it's okay, no problem. You see, and always when they give you half, you can use 50%. Don't you always like half. You can write 50% or like half. You can write it that way. So you can use it as a word, you can use it as a percentages, or you can use it as a fraction. It's okay. If, for example, a third, like don't say you can write it once a third, like sometimes you can write 33% and so on. You can write 2/3 and so on. You can use any one of these, no problem. It's okay. A quarter, you can write 25% or 4. So you can use a word, you can use a percentage, you can use a fraction, as long as it's okay, no problem. Like here we have this one here, like the data shows that between 20 and between is always used with and. From 2 and between ends, there was a significant decrease in the number of, like this is like, and it could be a main idea of body 1 or body 2. Again, we have these sentences. As I told you can use this one in contrast. This is the beginning of body 2. Like, as I told you, you always have groups. When it comes to like this one, you always have groups in different passages, not all the one, but yes. Like, when you have, even if you have one diagram, like this one, for example, I'll choose the right, like, look here. I'll choose the examiner's answer of this one. Like here, this one, I guess here, see? This is like the graph that we're supposed to like discuss together. You see, we have a clear-cut introduction. The introduction, by the way, this is an examiner response. This is an examiner's response. You see this one? Yeah, he said like you can write it in different approaches or using different approaches, it's okay. But see here, this is the rephrase, like, rephrasing the question. This is the first one. If you do that, you're going to have 1 mark. 1 mark out of 9, not out of 3. You have 1 mark. If you phrase it correctly, you have 1 mark. Okay, and then let's start. Like here, he wrote, like, body 1 only in 1979. Okay, and then like, like he had here, we have 1997 and then 79, and then we have the second year. And then we have like, extra details about like fish or like a beef or somehow like extra information. And then we have the conclusion. The conclusion is 1 sentence. The introduction is 1 sentence. Don't write more. Don't write more than that. If you like to add, as I told you, the conclusion could be written here, and then you can rephrase it again. You can rephrase it again, no problem, if you have time. So this is the way to write it, okay? This is the way to write it. Like here, for example, another task, writing task 1. This is like, this is examiners, as I told you, in IELTS is not specific, like, it's not specialized. It's not deeply specialized. So like, just try not to make it complex for yourself. For example, you have this one. It looks so good. But this one took 5.5 only. You know, this response took 5.5 only, despite the fact that it looked so good. Okay, so why? Because there are structure mistakes, there are punctuation mistakes, there are like, you know, ideas that maybe not that organized, there are some like, you know, subject verb disagreements and so on, like sentences containing subject verb disagreement. Okay, so this one, when you look at like writing task one, don't make it complex for yourself. Some students really complicated it, like, you know, they make it really complex. It is not so. As I told you, the first sentence only rephrase the question, the last sentence, the conclusion, write the main idea only. Body one, body two. Sometimes you can write two bodies, sometimes you can write three bodies. Based on what? Based on the graph itself. Like always classify information. Always try to classify information. Okay, you have this one here. What else? Yes, you can write here. These sentences has the highest, like, you know, second highest consumption levels at. Remember here, prepositions are extremely important. Why? Because like make or break. They make or break. They might change the whole meaning. Like what? I will give you an example. Like here, I'll show you what I mean. Like here, for example. Here we have this one. Look here, what's the difference between this sentence and this one? This one, I'll show you. What's the difference between this one and this one? Like here, what's the difference between, like, you know, here, I'd like to just, you know, what is the sentence here? Okay, just a second. For sure, like here we have all websites like include verbs and so on. Yes, yes, I'd like to mention something here, but like I'd like to, the sentences. Here we have this one. Yes, what does, like, you know, here an increase to 25%, decrease to 10%, like not this one. It's not what I meant. Like this also, like to help you summarize, like to help you rephrase the question. Okay, but like here, yes, one of the common mistakes here. Okay, I'll show it. Like, yes, this one. No, this one. In general, in academic writing, do not start a sentence with a number. You know, like for example, like here, like 25% were from China. This one is wrong. Don't start like with 25 students, right? Like write it in letters, not in numbers. 25%. So this one, for example, is wrong, like here. And in general, in academic writing, if the number is from 1 to 10, it's better to write it in letters, not in number. Like don't write 2 in number, right? I'm speaking about writing. I'm not speaking about listening. In listening and reading, when you have numbers, you should write them numbers. But when it comes to writing, like do not, like if the number from 1 to 10, it's better to write them, to write it in numbers, in letters. If it's from 11 till, like, you know, till forever, like you can write it in numbers, but do not start a sentence with a number. Like this one is wrong. So write it that way. Like write 25 students. Don't write 25s in numbers, write them in letters. Okay? Like this one here. And with the numbers from 1 to 10, it's better to write them in letters, whatever like the position is. Okay? We have this one. What else? Like, yes, I'd like here, like I just added some sentences. I'd like to know where I put them. Yes, like increased by or increased to. Yes, I can't find now, but I'm just asking you, what's the difference between it increased by 10% and increased to 10%? If you said increased by 10%, it means this is like the rate of increase. It increased 10 extra percent, like extra 10. But if you said increased to, it means like, you know, to 10%, it means only 10%. You see, like, so here, pay attention to prepositions. Always pay attention to the preposition when you use them. Okay, like here we have this one. Again, you can write based on the information revealed by the pie chart. For no, it is obvious that this sentence should be written at the beginning of body one. At the beginning of body one. You got it? Like this one. So, and when it comes to this one, like you should memorize some sentences to be able to use them. The sentence that they love so much is a sentence that contains the word respectively, like this one. Like this one. I will give you an example here. Respectively. So what does it mean respectively? Like I will show you an example like that doesn't have to do with academic writing, but I'd like to explain the word respectively to you. For example, let's say that if I said Ali, Ahmed, and